Elon Musk recently made an unexpected comment about Charlie Kirk, and it caught many by surprise. Musk, who's known for weighing in on everything from space to free speech, suggested that Kirk represents a kind of raw voice in America's cultural debate, even if people don't always agree with him. Musk added a short reflection. Sometimes the unpopular voices are the ones pushing the conversation forward. That's necessary for real progress. Now, think about this. It's not random that you came across this message right now. Selected 1. This is no coincidence. The very fact that your eyes and ears are here proves that heaven has come to find you. You've carried heavy burdens in silence, wondering if you were forgotten. But the seal is broken today. You turned what felt like a losing season into a winning one. You endured nights of loneliness, staring at the ceiling, asking, when will it be my turn? You watched others laugh while you waited. Yet you didn't stop walking. You didn't stop praying. That tenacity wasn't wasted. It was preparation. Picture a potter's wheel. The clay doesn't understand why it's pressed, stretched, and reshaped again and again. It feels like breaking, but every bit of pressure has a purpose. The vessel, once complete, is strong, beautiful, and ready to hold something precious. You are that vessel. You are that. Heaven has been molding and perfecting you so that you won't break under the weight of covenant love when your lifelong companion shows up. Once a selected individual longed for company year after year. At parties, she felt insignificant and ignored by acquaintances who had already entered into marriage. However, she found that the wait had been her best defense when her season arrived. The incorrect folks went by. Counterattacks were revealed. She was no longer in need by the time her God-ordained lover showed up. She was prepared. Your narrative is reflected in hers. There has been no waste in waiting. You have yet to meet the person who has been weaving your destiny together. Look at it this way. For a long time, you were a lighthouse perched on a cliff. You've been smashed by the waves. It's been a long night. Even when there were no ships in the distance, the light inside you continued to blaze despite the unrelenting storms. The designated vessel is now approaching, led by your steadfast light. 2 trips will soon meet at a single beach. Selected 1. You have to realize that your triumph extends beyond just surviving. It is undergoing transformation. You are not destroyed by loneliness. You are purged by it. You are not erased by the stillness. You learn to hear the voice of God from it. And now it's obvious what heaven has announced. The chapter of covenant is beginning, while the chapter of isolation is coming to an end. Listen to what the Lord has to say. In chapter 22 of the book of Proverbs, the Bible makes a declaration. The Lord's favor is bestowed upon the one who finds a bride. This goes beyond romanticism. It has to do with favor. Your union won't be like the others. It will have a heavenly purpose. You and your lifelong companion will walk together as an example of God's faithfulness. Acceleration will occur if there was a delay. Overflow will occur where there was emptiness. Let this reality set in. You're not running late. Heaven's plan is just in time for you. Each trial served as training. There is heavenly choreography in every delay. The page is currently turning. Do not suppress this word if you sense it pushing against your spirit. Spread the word so that another selected person might find hope. To keep up with what heaven keeps releasing, subscribe. And leave a remark with the number 777 below if you're ready to proclaim completion and covenant. It is your indication that you agree with the course that God has already established. And keep this selected one in mind. This vow has already received heavenly approval from the skies. The world chases love, but you don't. You are entering a covenant with something that embodies God's everlasting nature. Because the object being given is heavier, holier, and stronger, the wait was longer. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Don't allow comparison rob you of your happiness. What others regrettably hurried into, you will enter peacefully. The one that was sent to you is not short-lived, fake, or superficial. The answers to your silent prayers will come from them. The companion who has endured their own fire to be prepared for you is the mirror of your own struggles. So raise your head and take a big breath. The next chapter will be out soon. It is already taking shape. Your companion is on the way, Your triumph is certain, and the gods have spoken. Selected 1. You have experienced a period of time when loneliness weighed down on you like a thick shroud. It was more than just not having a companion. It was the sensation that no one really noticed you and that your spirit was unaffected by the crowds. Every motionless night seemed longer than the previous, and every smile you offered seemed like a mask. However, what seemed to be punishment was really preparation. Imagine a soldier undergoing training in secret quarters. The exercises are taxing. The drills seem to go on forever, and the guns seem heavy. There is simply discipline and perspiration, no cheering or acknowledgement. However, the soldier's body remembers every practice hour when the moment of combat comes, making triumph conceivable. Your loneliness served as training. Heaven was strengthening your face muscles so that you would be able to bear the covenant without breaking under its weight when it arrived. Please visualize this. There is no sound when a violin string is stretched too loosely, too firmly stretched. If stretched to the proper strain, it could break. It sings. Your spirit has been stretched by loneliness. It was painful, but never pointless. You now have the ability to connect with the love God is planning to put in your life because of the tension. A chosen one previously had notebooks stashed under her bed. Every page had hopes, queries, prayers for a future spouse, and sometimes even rage. She questioned if she was writing into nothing. She took out those diaries, however, when her covenant partner joined her life years later. To her surprise, a lot of the traits she had secretly jotted down matched the person in front of her. The solitary compositions had not been in vain. They had been seeds of prophecy. Prayers you didn't even know how to formulate have been spoken through your tears. Everyone was heard in heaven. Being alone was a purifying fire rather than an act of abandonment. Attachments that might have tied you to the incorrect individuals were eliminated. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. It dispelled misconceptions that love may be carefree, fleeting, or expendable when you're alone. You come to appreciate covenant love, the profound, sacred bond that heaven mandates, not the fake kind that the world flaunts. The Bible serves as a mirror for our reality. David's compositions in the Psalms serve as a reminder. Chapter 34, verse 18. Those who are crushed in spirit are saved by the Lord, who is near to the brokenhearted. In your loneliness, you believe that you were distant from God, but in fact, He was at your very nearest. His presence approached you in every breath, whisper, and pain in your chest. Take a fresh look at your trip. Even the evenings that seemed pointless weren't. They were irrigating your soul's soil. The unsolved problems made room for the eventual arrival of heavenly solutions. You learned to discern the Spirit's faint whispers from the agonizing quiet. Whispers that will now assist you in separating imitations from your real lover. Consider a sculptor gazing at a marble block. It seems purposeless and lifeless to the inexperienced eye. The sculptor, however, sees the masterpiece inside. The stone resists every time the chisel strikes it, but gradually a shape starts to take shape. God's chisel was loneliness. Every year of waiting and every season of solitude was meant to bring out the beauty that was already inside you, not to ruin you. Even though you may not be aware of it yet, those silent evenings gave birth to the strength, empathy, fortitude, and patience you now possess. And when it comes, they are precisely the attributes that will enable your covenant love to blossom. Because if you have never learned to befriend your own soul in isolation, how can you really welcome another? Don't hate the practice field. You have already triumphed on the battlefield of loneliness. You persevered. Despite the whisper of temptation, you refused to give in. Desperation did not take away your value. Now, that power will serve as the cornerstone of a love tale that will make hell itself shudder to see. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. So let this truth to bring you peace. It was never a waste to wait. You were being prepared for what others hurried into without any preparation in heaven's classroom. You're not in the rear. You are being prepared for a lasting love. Consider the morning. The world is black for hours on end. But everything changes suddenly as the light breaks. The birds are singing. The hues come to life. The cold subsides. It's almost morning for you. You will also forget how heavy the night was when it comes. With this certainty, stand tall. Your narrative is one of divine timing rather than delay. The goal of the stillness has been fulfilled, and the song of covenant will shortly start to play. Someone has misinterpreted you. Your quiet was seen as weakness by some. Your loneliness is misinterpreted by others as emptiness. They never acknowledged the fights you were waging in the shadows, instead judging your life based on what was readily apparent. However, what seemed to be rejection turned out to be redirection. Heaven was pulling you away from things that will never fulfill your purpose and putting you in line with things that will endure. While others rushed into partnerships, there was a selected one who never felt comfortable with friends. He continued to pray. They couldn't see that God had designated him for covenant, but they often told him things like, "You're too picky," or "You're afraid of commitment." Not practicality. His fate was protected by the same things that others decried. It became evident that the waiting, the miscommunication, and the loneliness had all been divine preparation when his appointed mate showed many years later. You've been through this too. Heaven has already confirmed your value, even if the earth doesn't. It is not a bad thing to misunderstand. It is evidence that you are unique. You would be a part of everyone if they all understood you. You belong exclusively to the person who called you and the covenant partner he is sending, because not everyone can hold your light. Think of it like a valuable gem that is kept in a safe. It is too much for some people to take. It is not affordable for everyone. It is not intended for everyone to touch. Although the vault seemed to be a place of imprisonment, it was really a place of safety. That gem is you. Heaven's method of keeping irresponsible hands away until the right one comes was the misunderstanding that surrounded you. In chapter 2, verse 9 of his epistle to the Corinthians, the apostle reminds us, "No mind has imagined what God has in store for those who love him. No eye has seen, and no ear has heard." You have been moving in invisible readiness, and the things that are about to happen will quiet the people who questioned you. Don't be upset if you're misunderstood. Chosen one. Allow it to serve as your honorific. For those who were selected for more, it is the mark. Rejection was an attempt by the adversary to break your spirit. However, God positioned your steps with it. The way your tale turns out is not determined by what other people think. I now challenge you to do a prophetic deed. Type amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Put these terms in the comment section. Distinct. Selected. By stating this, you are accepting aspects of yourself that others have never comprehended. You agree with heaven that the miscommunications were caused by divine shields rather than by chance. Additionally, you are declaring that you are prepared for the revelation of your actual fate. It's the end of your misread season. The season of your revelation is about to begin, and it will be evident that all of the waiting, rejection, and miscommunication was worthwhile when your lifelong companion finally shows up. Consider carefully what it means to be misinterpreted. People may have attempted to possess you, imprison you, and mold you into their image if they had really known you. Misunderstanding has served as a barrier. It helped you maintain your individuality. Your heart's purity was maintained. It prevented you from taking paths that would have resulted in heartache. Thus, rather than lamenting the miscommunication, let's dissect it and thank God for preserving the version of you that heaven intended. You learned discernment from rejection. You learned patience from isolation. And you learned resilience from miscommunication. A covenant relationship requires each of these attributes. Imagine entering a holy marriage blindly. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a real companion and a fake. Consider adopting a covenant without exercising patience. You would harm what God has planned by hurrying the process. Imagine entering a romantic relationship without resiliency. You would crumble at the first hint of trouble. Do you realize that the things that once hurt you are now the ones that will keep you going? Additionally, you weren't entering letters into a blank screen when you typed the specific word selected in the comments. You were making an everlasting declaration. You were communicating to the invisible world that you see your separation as sacred. You were admitting what seemed to be rejection was really preservation. You were affirming that you are a part of heaven's plan and would not accept imitations from the outside world. This is not only a symbolic proclamation. When you speak with faith, heaven answers. Even while you may not see the change right away, by referring to yourself as unique, you have started a process. You're coming to terms with the fact that your tale is unique. Your affection won't be typical, and you won't have a shallow future. It will be profound, heavenly, and long-lasting. Thus, proceed with assurance. The season of miscommunication has been useful. Soon it will be time for the revealing season, when the majesty of your covenant is shown to the same voices who underestimated you. They will realize you weren't an oddball. You were selected. At some points in your trip, the indications start to seem almost too subtle to first detect. The fact is that heaven is communicating through them, even if you dismiss them as chance. These are arrival indications that foretell the change of the waiting season and the imminence of the promise. The spontaneous awakening of optimism inside you is one indication. A silent belief that will not be quieted. Discouragement obscured your view for a long time. You reminded yourself that disappointment had come too often and that you shouldn't have high expectations or lofty dreams. But now, suddenly, something inside of you dares to believe once again. This isn't a random occurrence. The whisper that the door is starting to open comes from the Spirit. The softening of your heart is another indication. Sharp wounds no longer hurt as much. The offenses that used to dominate your thoughts are no longer powerful. It's easy to forgive. Bitterness loses its hold and patience becomes lighter. Why? Because heaven is getting ready to pour covenant love into your heart. Your spouse cannot flourish in a heart burdened by past trauma. This inward healing is an indication that something new is about to happen. Think about your recent interactions as well. Ordinary conversations suddenly take on a new meaning. You start to hear more and more stories of weddings and supernatural couplings. Words that appear to reflect your own prayers are expressed, even in informal situations. These aren't just coincidences. They are affirmations, breadcrumbs pointing you in the direction of what heaven has already decided. Let me share a tale with you. Once, a chosen one was on the verge of despair. She was reading the Bible in a peaceful park one day when a stranger came up to her and whispered, "Don't stop believing. God is faithful." The stranger then left, never to be seen again. But her heart was broken by those words. Her God-ordained lover came into her life within a year. In retrospect, she saw that instance as a prophetic sign meant to reawaken her trust in the future. You can have other indications. It could be a recurring dream. Maybe a scriptural passage that seems to follow you around. Maybe an inexorable feeling that change is imminent. Don't discount these times, even if nothing has changed externally yet. Scripture states in John 16, verse 13, that when the Spirit of truth arrives, He will lead you into all the truth. But they are heaven's way of saying, hold on, the promise is approaching. He won't talk by Himself. He will tell you what is still to happen, but He will only talk about what He hears. Through sensations and signals, the Spirit is already directing your heart toward what is happening. Consider the indications as the first rays of daybreak. The horizon barely becomes a little gray at first. Then there's a gold streak, then another, and then all of a sudden the sky is glowing. It takes time for the morning to arrive. The symptoms appear gradually. Your covenant pledge is no different. The sun will soon rise completely, as shown by the few signs you can see right now. The change inside you is sometimes the best indicator. There is now a calm expectation where there was desperation. There is lightness now where there was heaviness. There is now bravery where there was fear. These are more than just emotions. They are heaven's fingerprints forming you for the future. If others can't see what you see, don't give up. The audience is not given signs. They are provided for the selected. They could be rejected by others. However, you are aware in your soul when God is speaking, and you will recall the faint clues, the hushed affirmations, and the little sparks that lit the fire before it was fulfilled. Pick one and listen, Ordinary situations might suddenly turn out to be remarkable ones. Arrival prophecies are meant to prepare you, not to tease you. Heaven doesn't manipulate your emotions. Your paths are aligned with heaven, and the subtleties of the indicators will soon be gone. They won't be disputed. When the indisputable arrives, it won't be ambiguous or perplexing. Your spirit will tell you, as certain as you are that day and night are different. The disparate clues will fit together like jigsaw pieces to create an image that is too obvious to ignore. And at that point, all the little clues you had previously questioned would make sense, proving that heaven had been pointing you in the direction of your covenant vow, chosen one, the whole time. It is not your typical mate that God is sending your way. This is a promise made long before you were born, not a passing friend or brittle relationship. The love that the world talks about is not the same as covenant love. According to popular belief, love is about convenience, attractiveness, or sentiments. However, according to heaven, love is about a heavenly mission, a purpose, and two people joining forces. Consider it this way. A little amount of light is produced by two candles burning alone. However, the flame multiplies and repels additional darkness when it is joined together. Similarly, your lifelong relationship is more than just a friend. It has to do with light multiplicity. You will now stand as two where you were previously one, but move as one. This is the covenant design of heaven. To alleviate loneliness, a chosen one once prayed for love. However, God postponed the response because his intention was to send someone to create a holy future rather than to fill a void. Years later, when the covenant partner arrived, the chosen one realized, if God had answered my prayer in my timing, I would have settled for less. But because I waited, I received a covenant. The difference is night and day, temporary and eternal, ordinary and divine. This is what you must understand. Your partner is not coming to complete you. They're coming to complement you. You are already whole in God, but in covenant. Your wholeness joins with theirs, and together you become an unshakable testimony of heaven's faithfulness. The prophet Hosea declared in chapter 2, verse 19, I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you in righteousness and justice, in love and compassion. Covenant love is built on righteousness, justice, love, and compassion, not on fleeting emotions. And this is the kind of love that will soon stand at your side. Now I must speak plainly. The words you are hearing, the messages that pour into your life, are seeds being planted into your heart. Many chosen ones across the world are being strengthened through them. And just like a well that many come to drink from, this stream continues to flow so long as the well is kept clear and full. If your heart feels blessed, if these words have been like water to a thirsty soul, I invite you without pressure, without obligation to consider sowing back. Supporting this work is like placing fresh wood on a fire so that the flame keeps burning, warming not only you, but many others who are cold in their waiting. Think of it like a lighthouse on a stormy shore. It stands tall, shining night after night, guiding ships home. But even a lighthouse needs oil to keep its flame alive. Without oil, the light dims and ships wander in darkness. When you choose to give, you are providing oil for the flame. You are helping the light reach farther, guiding more chosen ones through their storm into safe harbor. This is not about buying blessings. Heaven's covenant cannot be purchased. It is about partnership, about keeping the message alive for those who are still in the valley of waiting. If you cannot give, know this, the word is still yours freely. But if you can and you feel led, your gift becomes part of the testimony. It becomes one more way you declare, I stand with the light. And as you do, remember generosity always flows back in ways unseen. Seeds planted in faith grow into unexpected harvests. Sometimes in peace, sometimes in provision, sometimes in breakthroughs you did not see coming. For the same God who promises covenant love also promises to honor those who give with a willing heart. So, chosen one, receive this message with peace. Heaven is sending you a lifetime partner, a covenant sealed in love, strengthened by righteousness, and protected by divine timing. And as you walk toward that promise, may your heart remain open, not only to receive, but also to pour out so that the flame continues to guide many others to their breakthrough. If this word has touched you, click like. It is like lighting another small candle on this altar, helping the flame grow stronger. Share this message, and you become like a messenger bird carrying hope to someone else still lost in the storm. Subscribe so that you remain like a tree planted by living waters. Always connected, always nourished, never missing the next drop of rain. And if you feel led, sow a seed of support, like pouring fresh oil into the lamp of the lighthouse. It is never a demand but an invitation. The light keeps burning because hearts like yours keep it alive. Before covenant love can thrive, there must first be healing. Too often chosen ones carry wounds from the past into the promises of the future. Old disappointments, hidden bitterness, and silent fears can poison even the sweetest gift if they are left unhealed. That is why heaven has taken time not only to prepare your partner, but also to prepare your heart. Think of a broken vase. You can pour fresh water and flowers into it, but if the cracks are never repaired, the water will leak out and the beauty will not last. In the same way, God cannot allow covenant love to be poured into a heart that is still fractured. He first mends the cracks, seals the wounds, and restores your soul so that what is given will not be lost. There was once a chosen one who carried the memory of betrayal like a scar across her heart. She longed for love, yet deep inside she believed that love was unsafe. That intimacy always led to pain. Years passed, and she wondered why her prayers seemed unanswered. But then came a season of deep healing counsel, prayer, worship, and surrender. Slowly, the bitterness melted away, and peace returned. Not long after, her covenant partner arrived. She realized then that heaven had not been withholding love, but protecting it until her heart could hold it without breaking. Chosen one, perhaps you too have felt this. The shadows of what others did to you still echo in your memory. The lies spoken against you sometimes replay in your mind. Yet what the enemy intended for destruction, heaven is turning into strength. Healing is not punishment. It is preparation. According to what is revealed in the book of James, chapter 5, verse 16. Confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Healing is both spiritual and relational. It comes when you release the weight, forgive the offense, and invite the Spirit to cleanse what time alone cannot. Imagine a garden after a wildfire. The flames seem to have destroyed everything, leaving ashes and blackened soil. But after rain falls and the sun returns, green shoots begin to push through the ground. Life reappears stronger and more vibrant than before. That is your story. What burned you in the past will not define you. Healing is already causing new life to spring up. Do not despise this process. Healing takes time. Some days you feel strong. Other days the old wounds ache again. Yet every step forward is progress. Heaven sees your journey, and your partner will one day thank God that you did not skip the process. For a healed heart can love deeply, faithfully, and without fear. It is also important to remember healing is not forgetting. It is not pretending nothing happened. Healing is looking at the scar and realizing it no longer controls you. It is remembering without pain, forgiving without bitterness, and walking free without chains. Your partner too has been walking through their own healing just as you are being restored. So are they. And when you finally meet, it will not be two broken souls clinging to each other for survival, but two whole hearts joining together in strength. Chosen one, healing is the doorway to covenant love. Without it, the promise cannot last. With it, the covenant becomes unshakable. This is why heaven whispers to you now. Release the past. Embrace the process. Trust the timing. The new chapter cannot be written if the old wounds still bleed. Now, I invite you to respond in faith. Write in the comments the number 222. This is not just a number. It is a prophetic declaration. It symbolizes agreement, unity, and divine alignment. When you write it, you are proclaiming that your heart is being healed, that your steps are moving into order, and that you are ready for covenant love to be built on a strong foundation. Do this not as superstition, but as a prophetic act of agreement. Heaven sees your declaration. The healing is already flowing, and the covenant love prepared for you is one step closer. And when you write 222, you are not only declaring healing for yourself, but also alignment for your future covenant. 2 lives, 2 journeys, 2 hearts brought together under one divine purpose. It is a sign that what once felt scattered is being joined, that heaven is weaving the threads into one tapestry. So let your declaration be bold. The old chapter is closing and the healed united chapter is opening. Heaven is already rejoicing over the alignment now unfolding in your life. The journey toward covenant has not been gentle. Darkness has tried again and again to break your heart. It whispered lies in the quiet, telling you that you are unworthy of love, that no one could truly understand you, that loneliness was your destiny. The battles you faced were not only external, but internal battles of the mind, battles of the soul. Yet through it all, your light endured. Imagine a lamp placed in the middle of a storm. The winds howl, the rain lashes, the night thickens. Yet the flame flickers on, refusing to be extinguished. That lamp is you. Every heartbreak that came was meant to blow out your fire. But somehow the flame survived. You were not preserved by your own strength alone, but by the unseen hand of heaven shielding you when you thought you could not endure another blow. There was once a chosen one who loved deeply and gave wholeheartedly, only to be betrayed by those they trusted most. For a long time, they closed their heart, building walls so high that even joy could not climb them. But one night, as they prayed, they felt a quiet whisper. Your heart is not a cage. It is a garden. Let me tend to it. Over time, the walls crumbled and new blossoms grew. Where weeds once choked the soil, the betrayal had not destroyed them. It had prepared them to cherish real love when it finally came. Chosen one, you may have faced similar betrayals. Perhaps friends turned into enemies or promises made to you were broken without explanation. But every attempt of darkness to harden your heart has failed. You're still able to feel, still able to hope, still able to love. This is proof that the enemy did not win. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 31:3. Music, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. That everlasting love has kept you alive. It has been your shield, your anchor, your reason to rise again when despair tried to pin you down. Think of yourself as a tree in winter. The branches are bare. The cold is biting and it seems lifeless. Yet deep within the roots remain alive, storing strength, waiting for spring. Darkness tried to convince you that winter was your ending. But heaven knew that spring was only hidden, not gone. Soon the blossoms will appear, and the beauty of what endured will astonish even you. Guardianship of purity is not easy while others compromise for fleeting pleasures. You stood firm while others accepted counterfeits. You held on to your worth. This is why the battle against you is so fierce. Darkness fears a heart that refuses to surrender its light. The enemy knows that a chosen one who remains pure becomes unstoppable not only in love but in destiny. And so every attack on your heart carried a hidden purpose to distract you, to contaminate you, to convince you to give up before the covenant arrived. But you refused. You stood when it would have been easier to fall. You prayed when it would have been easier to give up. You protected your heart even when it felt fragile because somewhere deep down you knew it was worth it. Now, that perseverance is about to be rewarded. The purity you preserved will become the fertile soil for covenant love to grow. The walls you protected will now open, not to the wrong ones, but to the right one. What once felt like endless struggle will soon make sense. You are not fighting to survive. You are fighting to protect the garden where heaven's promise would be planted. Chosen one, take courage. Your story proves that light is stronger than darkness. The scars on your heart are not signs of defeat, but of survival. And when your partner comes, they will see not only your beauty, but your strength. The strength of one who endured the storm and kept the flame alive. Your guardianship of purity has not been wasted. It has made you ready. The covenant will not arrive to a broken heart, but to a heart refined like gold, glowing with light that darkness could not steal. And when two such hearts meet, the world will witness the power of love preserved by heaven itself. And let this truth anchor you. The very battles that tried to destroy you have become the testimony that will sustain your covenant. You will not walk in a love timidly, but boldly, knowing you endured fire and came out purified. Your partner will not only love you for who you are, but also honor the strength it took to remain pure. What the enemy tried to twist into shame has now become your crown, gleaming with the glory of endurance. There comes a moment in every chosen one's story when the unseen finally takes shape, when the long years of waiting and refining begin to reveal their purpose. That moment is the unveiling of divine pairing. This is not about chance encounters or fleeting attraction. It is about two flames lit in different places, finally brought together to burn as one. You have felt incomplete at times, wondering if something was missing. But heaven never intended for you to be half of a whole. You were created whole in God, and your partner is also whole in Him. When the time is right, two complete souls merge, not to fill each other's emptiness, but to multiply each other's fullness. That is the mystery and beauty of divine union. Think of two rivers running separately for miles. Each has carved its own path, endured storms, nurtured lands, and carried life along its banks. When they finally meet, they do not lose their identity, but they become something greater together, wider, stronger, unstoppable. So it will be when your life joins with the one chosen for you. There was once a chosen one who doubted whether divine union was even possible. She had seen too many broken marriages, too many shallow relationships, too many promises unkempt. But in a quiet season of prayer, she was reminded of the story of Isaac and Rebekah. They were brought together not by striving, but by providence. In time, she too discovered that her divine pairing arrived not through desperation, but through alignment. When she stopped chasing, she was found. When she stopped fearing, she was embraced. Her testimony became a witness that heaven still orchestrates love stories today. Scripture says in the book of Genesis chapter 2 verse 24, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. This is not only about physical unity, but spiritual destiny. The two becoming one flesh means two lives, two callings, two journeys merging into a single assignment under God, chosen one. Understand this divine pairing is not random. Heaven does not play with hearts. Your partner has been walking their own road of trials and lessons, just as you have. Their struggles have mirrored yours in surprising ways, preparing them to understand your battles and walk beside you with compassion. When you meet, it will feel less like a beginning and more like a recognition. Ah, it was you all along. Imagine two melodies played separately alone. They sound beautiful, but when played together in harmony, they create a symphony that neither could achieve on its own. Your life is one melody. Your partner's life is another. Heaven has been composing in secret, and soon the harmony will resound. Do not fear missing it. The Spirit who has guided you this far will guide you still. You will not stumble into covenant blindly. You will walk into it with peace. Your heart will recognize the alignment, not through confusion, but through clarity. You will know not because it is perfect in appearance, but because it is perfect in purpose. Also remember, divine pairing is not about ease, but about mission. When two chosen ones unite, their love becomes a force for the kingdom. The enemy trembles at such unions. For together you carry authority that neither could wield alone. Your prayers will multiply in power, your influence in light, your destiny in reach. Chosen one, hold this vision before you. The waiting has been long, but the union will be worth every tear. When divine pairing is revealed, it will not feel like the hurried promises of the past. It will feel steady, sacred, sealed. You will see in their eyes the reflection of every lesson you endured, every victory you won, every prayer you whispered. and together you will know this is covenant. The unveiling is near. The rivers are converging. The melodies are lining. The flames preparing to merge. And when it happens, the testimony of your union will not only bless you, but inspire many others to believe again in the power of heaven's design. And when the unveiling comes, it will not be fragile or uncertain. It will stand firm like a pillar placed on solid ground. Others may look and wonder how such a union could have formed, but you will know it was written before time began. The echoes of your prayers and theirs will meet in a single answer, and your hearts will recognize each other not as strangers, but as long-awaited companions. This is the power of divine pairing when it arrives. It carries the weight of eternity, and nothing on earth or in hell can separate it. The moment heaven begins to align two lives for covenant, the opposition of darkness intensifies. Spiritual warfare rises because the enemy knows what is at stake. A God-aimed union is not just about companionship. It is about power, legacy, and destiny. When two chosen ones join, their prayers multiply, their light expands, and their impact disrupts the plans of hell. Perhaps you have already felt this battle. Every time you moved closer to peace, chaos suddenly appeared. Each time you opened your heart, betrayal or disappointment struck. These are not coincidences. They were targeted attacks designed to exhaust you before the covenant arrived. Yet here you are, still standing, proof that the enemy could not win. Think of a blacksmith forging a sword. The metal is heated, hammered, and thrust into fire again and again. Sparks fly, pressure intensifies, and the blade is struck without mercy. But the purpose of the process is not destruction. It is strengthening. You're that blade. The warfare you faced was forging your spirit into unbreakable steel, ready to defend love and walk in covenant with courage. There was once a chosen one who could not understand why relationships seemed cursed, why every attempt ended in heartbreak. But later they realized that the enemy had been fighting so hard because the promise was too significant. When the true partner finally came, every past disappointment suddenly made sense. The battles were fierce because the blessing was great. Scripture says in the letter to the Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, the powers of this dark world, and spiritual forces of evil." You have encountered more than just human opposition. It had a spiritual quality. And because you conquered it, heaven has already proclaimed your triumph. After the conflict is over, picture yourself on a battlefield. The air is thick, the land is scarred, yet you are still alive, triumphant. You're standing there now. The wounds from the battle serve as a reminder of both your might and its cost. Despite the enemy's best efforts, your faith endured. Your light persisted. Your fate was unaltered. Selected one. You must be aware of this. The battle demonstrated your value. What has no value is not fought by the opponent. He opposes what is strong, predestined, and capable of transforming generations. Hell shook at the notion of your vow, because it is so important. That explains why you were subjected to such constant attacks. The roles are now being reversed. You have become sharper as a result of the same battle that was intended to kill you. Your voice has grown stronger as a result of the exact struggles that were intended to silence you. The next union will not be feeble. It will be strengthened by God's might, honed in battle, and forged in fire. This is your act of prophecy. Write in the comments, "Victory is mine." It is short, it is clear, and it is powerful. By saying this, you are expressing your faith rather than vanity and announcing that the struggles you have faced have not been in vain, that the covenant that lies ahead is already sealed in victory, and that the wounds you bear are badges of victory. This is not something to be taken lightly. Your declaration that triumph is mine shapes the mood. Heaven and hell are being reminded that the result is known. You prevailed. What heaven previously written has simply been validated by the conflict. You cannot break your promise. You are not only repeating a sentence when you enter victory is mine. A reality is being activated by you. The weight of your testimony is contained in these 3 words. You survived the fire and are still standing, therefore they are not empty. Since every scar on your heart attests to their veracity, they are not superficial. Understand this completely. Every time you announce them, it's like you're putting a flag on the battleground of your life and declaring, "This ground belongs to God. This victory belongs to me." Being victorious doesn't imply you've never experienced suffering. It indicates that you are not broken by the suffering. A victory does not imply that the adversary did not launch an assault. It indicates that the assaults were unsuccessful. The absence of fighting does not equate to victory. It is the result of perseverance. And you own this result. Consider it in accord with the decision of heaven when you write it. Angels already sang over you, and now you are joining their voices. You are bringing your soul into harmony with the timeless truth that no weapon created against you can succeed. Additionally, you prepare your heart for covenant love throughout this alignment. A triumphant love rather than a defeated one. Selected one. You have to learn to see heaven's timetable. Many get agitated. Denial and delay are confused, or thinking that quiet indicates a bondo. But this is the reality. The time is perfect in heaven. It's never too early or too late. Your story's pauses are not meaningless. They are full of planning, lining up, and coordinating. Consider the farmer sowing a seed. The next morning, he doesn't anticipate any fruit. He watered. He bides his time. He believes that rushing the harvest will only ruin it because of the invisible process that takes place under the earth. Similar to this, heaven has been taking care of your life, giving you grace, clearing off distractions, and anticipating the ideal time for the fruit of covenant to manifest. One time, a chosen one became tired of waiting. She attempted to impose her own timeline since she believed God had forgotten about her. Pain, retaliation, love, and unfulfilled vows were the only outcomes of that route. But once she gave up, she found that heaven had been planning something far bigger than she could have planned herself. In reality, what seemed to be a delay had been protection. Chapter 3 of the Ecclesiastes book, Bursary 11, says, "In his time, he brought beauty to everything. Additionally, he has imprinted eternity in people's hearts. But from start to finish, no one can comprehend what God has accomplished. The promise that protects you, chosen one, is this beauty in time. Keep in mind that heaven's clock is not like ours. Like a symphony in which every instrument must wait for its cue, what seems late to you is really perfectly on time in eternity. Your life has been planned so that it will be in perfect harmony and not out of sync when the covenant mate arrives." Let me now discuss partnering with you. These messages and phrases are like lamps placed along a pitch-black path. Lanterns need oil to glow so that those who are selected, like you, do not get lost in the darkness. Wells need fresh water, and fires require fuel. Because there are hands ready to pour back in, the flow keeps going. You may decide to like this message if this word has made you feel anything. For others who are still lost in the dark, just one deed is like adding another star to the night sky, making the firmament shine brighter. Sharing enables people who feel stuck to cross into hope and light, much like a bridge over a deep river. Someone else could be saved by your step. By subscribing, you establish yourself like a vineyard on rich soil, constantly getting the rain when it's needed and always producing fruit when it's time. If you're moved to make a donation, consider it a first step in building a cathedral. The stone seems little when seen alone, yet when combined, it creates a haven where innumerable spirits may find light and refuge. Nobody has been coerced or coerced. Saying, "I want this light to continue guiding others," is just the pleasure of participation. When giving comes from the heart, it turns into adoration. It sends a message to heaven, saying, "I am not only here to receive. I am also here to sustain the work that sustains me." Heaven then sends blessings back in abundance. Make your decision based on peace. Know this regardless of whether you just listen, participate, or plant a seed. All around you, the time of heaven is being revealed. There's a reason for the delays. The covenant you want is gradually approaching you, and the pauses are full of promise. Have faith in the eternal clock. Have faith in the symphony of heaven's melodies. and have faith that your heavenly love story will be presented in beauty at the perfect moment, without being hurried or postponed. And you will realize that the waiting was never in vain when that time arrives. The master conductor was meticulously setting the scene with each pause, unanswered plea, and delay. Heaven has been adding richness to your tale, much as a painter layers colors before applying the final brushstroke, so that when the covenant comes, it will be rich with significance rather than superficial. Take solace in this. Nothing is gone. Even the seemingly quiet years have been saved. Your path is not a never-ending circle of wandering. With each round, it's a spiral that gets closer to fulfillment. When the appointed time arrives, it will feel as though heaven itself leans close and whispers, "Now," and in that instant, everything will align. The waiting will break. The promise will manifest. And the beauty of divine timing will leave you breathless in awe. While you have been walking your journey of waiting and healing, your lifetime partner has also been on their own path. Too often you imagine yourself as the only one enduring the silence, the only one carrying the weight of longing. But heaven does not prepare only one. It prepares both. The story of your covenant is being written on two lives at once. Think for a moment about the refining you have endured. The sleepless nights, the unanswered questions, the rejection, the seasons of silence. Now understand that your partner has also faced their own trials, perhaps different in form, but similar in purpose. Just as a mirror reflects your image, their journey mirrors yours in significance. They too have known loneliness. They too have wrestled with doubt. They too have been shaped through fire, so that when you meet, the strength you carry will be matched by theirs. There was once a chosen one who doubted whether anyone could ever understand the depth of their battles. They felt too scarred, too complicated, too unique. But when their covenant partner finally entered their life, they were astonished to hear stories of pain and resilience that sounded almost like their own betrayals, losses, victories. The details were different, but the lessons were the same. They realized then that God had been preparing them separately, but equally, so that their hearts would meet on common ground. Picture two blacksmiths working in distant villages, each shaping a blade without knowing the other exists. One strikes against steel, the other hammers iron, each creating a weapon strong and ready. When the time comes, the two swords are brought together to form a double-edged weapon, sharper and more powerful than either blade could be alone. This is what your partner's hidden journey has been, a parallel preparation so that when joined with yours, the covenant will be unshakable. The writings in the book of Romans chapter 8 verse 28 remind us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Notice it says all things, not just your story, not just your waiting, but also theirs. Every trial, every test, every lonely season they endured is being woven into the good that will manifest when the two of you are united. Sometimes when you feel impatient, it is because you imagine your partner as already complete, simply waiting for you. But heaven's design is deeper. They're not just waiting, they're growing. They're learning to forgive, to endure, to hope again, just as you have. And when you finally come together, the testimony of your combined growth will make your love far richer than if you had met too soon. Think of two rivers, each carrying their own minerals, their own silt, their own stories of mountains crossed and valleys passed. When they finally merge, they bring with them everything they have gathered along the way. The union becomes a greater river carrying abundance downstream. Likewise, your partner will bring the wisdom of their path, and you'll bring yours together. You will carry more than either could alone. Chosen one, this truth is meant to free you from despair. You are not waiting in vain. Even in the silence, your partner has been moving. Even in the hidden seasons, their heart has been molded. And while you cannot see them, heaven has seen both of you carefully guiding each step toward the moment of convergence. The beauty of this design is that when you meet, it will not feel like strangers colliding, but like two travelers arriving at the same destination after a long parallel journey. You will recognize in each other the marks of endurance, the scars of battles fought, and the resilience of survivors. That recognition will bind you more deeply than attraction or convenience ever could. So do not grow weary in waiting. Remember that you are not alone in your preparation. Across the distance, someone is also enduring, also hoping, also being shaped. And soon, the two paths will meet, not by chance, but by the orchestration of heaven. And when that day comes, you will both understand that the long road was not a delay, but a design. A design that has made the covenant stronger, purer, and destined to last. And in that meeting, every unanswered question will dissolve into clarity. You will see that nothing was wasted. Not a tear, not a prayer, not a single step of the journey. The years of shaping will stand before you in the form of a partner equally refined, equally prepared, and equally chosen to walk beside you forever. There are moments when clarity descends like a gentle rain, washing away the confusion and noise of your thoughts. This is how the Spirit often confirms covenant love, not with thunder or lightning, but with peace that settles so deeply you cannot deny it. The world tells you to measure love by appearances, wealth, of fleeting. But heaven's way is different. Heaven says, listen to the stillness. Its hallmark is peace. Recall the moments when you pushed open doors in pursuit of opportunities that left your spirit restless. There was always a knot in your soul, regardless of how thrilling everything seemed, an uneasiness that persisted. Peace wasn't there. You were protected by heaven, even if you were unaware of it. The fate cannot bring about peace, but it may imitate appeal. At one point, a chosen one believed she had discovered the one. On the surface, everything seemed ideal. Common interests, kind remarks, and even happy times. However, she experienced heart agitation in the late hours of the night as quiet descended. The laughing was short-lived. She felt empty after the discussions, and she had unanswered questions. Years later, when her genuine covenant partner showed up, the difference was evident no matter how hard she tried to keep them quiet. Her spirit let out a breath for the first time. It was like returning home, she said. The confirmation is that the soul feels at rest when there is peace. Verse 15 of Colossians 3 has the old language. Talk plainly. Allow Christ's peace to govern your hearts, because you are called to peace and gratitude as members of one body. Look at the word rule. Peace is more than just an emotion. It is a ruling body. It is governed by it. It gives a yes/no indication. Think of peace as a wilderness compass. Even if you can't see the whole map, the compass is always pointing north. Peace also indicates agreement with the covenant. You won't roam aimlessly if you follow it. Ignoring it puts you at danger of getting lost. Selected one. You will never be perplexed by the Spirit's confirmation. It will never ask you to hurry or plead. It won't coerce, control, or mislead. You will be steadied by genuine confirmation. This is safe. This is right. This is where you can rest. Arm will mutter. Therefore, don't make things too complicated when the time comes. Peace will endure, so you'll know. Nor ephemeral, nor delicate, but everlasting. Like a river running under the surface, the tranquility will endure despite difficulties. You will be able to distinguish between genuine and fake love in this way. I want you to declare your agreement now. In the comments, write the number 555. This number represents heavenly transformation and grace. It symbolizes the changing of the seasons, the process of change, and the serenity that results from the manifestation of heaven's will. By writing 555, you are proclaiming, I choose peace as my guide. I accept the Spirit's confirmation. I step into alignment with what heaven is revealing. It is not superstition. It is faith in action. Your declaration aligns you with the peace already stirring within you. Chosen one, let your heart rest. What is for you will never bring torment, only clarity. The Spirit is faithful, and the peace He gives cannot be shaken. Trust it, follow it, and let it carry you into the covenant prepared for your life. When you write 555, pause for a moment and let it be more than numbers on a screen. See it as planting a flag in your heart. You are saying, I will not be guided by fear, by loneliness, or by pressure. I will be guided by peace. That choice shifts the atmosphere because peace is not passive. It is powerful. Peace is not simply the absence of conflict. It is the presence of God Himself within your spirit. It steadies you when emotions rage. It anchors you when circumstances shake. It whispers when voices grow loud around you. That is why the Apostle Paul told us to let peace rule. To rule means to act as an umpire, a judge, the final decision maker. So when you mark 555, you are agreeing that peace is the judge of your relationships, not appearances, not fleeting feelings, not external pressure. And this declaration positions you perfectly for covenant love, because only a relationship aligned with heaven can pass the test of peace. Remember, the Spirit is not a God of confusion. If you're being pushed into panic or fear, that is not Him. If you feel a deep, steady stillness, even if you cannot explain why, that is Him. And in that stillness, you will find your confirmation. Covenant love is not merely about companionship. It is a weapon forged in the heart of heaven. When two chosen ones unite under divine design, their love becomes a force that disrupts darkness, breaks generational patterns, and establishes a legacy of light. This is why your union is so fiercely opposed by the enemy, because it carries authority that reaches far beyond your personal happiness. Think of the curses that have followed families for generations. Patterns of broken marriages, cycles of abandonment, repeated betrayals. These chains pass silently from one line to the next, convincing each generation that dysfunction is normal. But covenant love is God's answer to these chains. When two chosen ones join together in holiness, they become breakers of curses, rewriting the story for their descendants. There was once a chosen one who came from a lineage marked by failed unions. She had watched her parents divorce. Her grandparents live in bitterness. Her relatives struggle endlessly. Fear whispered to her that she was doomed to repeat the same story. Yet when she stepped into covenant, something shifted. Her marriage did not replicate the brokenness she had known. It became a testimony of restoration. Years later, she saw her children walking in peace and love. Untouched by the patterns that had haunted her family for decades, her union had been a weapon of deliverance. Scripture affirms this in the second letter to the Corinthians. Chapter 10, verse 4. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. Covenant love is one of these weapons. It demolishes the strongholds of loneliness, fear, and brokenness that once claimed dominion over your life. Imagine two torches brought together separately. Each can light a small space, but together they blaze with intensity, pushing back darkness further than either could alone. That is your covenant love. It is not simply warmth for your home. It is fire against the schemes of hell. Chosen one, this is why your waiting has been long and your trials fierce. Heaven is not sending you someone ordinary, but someone who will stand with you in battle. This union is not just for romance. It is for mission. Together you will pray with power that shakes atmospheres. Together you will raise a standard that exposes counterfeits. Together you will establish a testimony that cannot be denied. Do not underestimate this. The love you are stepping into will ripple outward. Friends will see it and believe again. Family members will watch and be healed of cynicism. Children will grow in its shelter and rise into their own callings. The impact of your covenant will extend far beyond the two of you. It will touch generations. Think of it like a tree planted in once barren soil. For years, the land lay empty, producing thorns and weeds. But when the tree takes root, it begins to transform the environment. Its shade provides rest. If provided nourishment, its roots bring stability. Slowly the barren place becomes a garden. Your covenant love will do this. It will turn wastelands into gardens, curses into blessings, despair into hope. Remember this, covenant love is both gift and assignment. It will bring joy, intimacy, laughter, and companionship. But it will also carry responsibility. The enemy does not fear shallow relationships. He fears holy ones. That is why your union will be contested, but also why it will be victorious. Chosen one, prepare your heart for this truth. Your love story is not small. It is not a private matter hidden in the shadows. It is a banner, our proclamation, a living testimony that God still writes stories of redemption. And as you step into it, the chains that bound your family will shatter, and the blessing that follows will not stop with you. Your covenant love will be like a trumpet sounding on the battlefield. Its echo will reach farther than your eyes can see. Those who thought hope was gone will hear it and rise again. Families watching from a distance will see that God still restores what was broken. Strangers who only glimpse your story in passing will feel a spark reignite inside them. This is why heaven called you not to a small love, but to a love that proclaims. And understand this, the breaking of chains in your life is also the opening of doors for others. When you step into covenant, you're not only setting yourself free, you're blazing a trail so that future generations will walk on solid ground. Your love story becomes their inheritance, a living monument to the truth that God is faithful and his covenant is unshakable. When covenant love is revealed and established, it is not meant to exist in isolation. It carries within it a mission, a calling to walk as one in advancing the will of God on earth. Your partner is not merely a companion for comfort, but a co-laborer in destiny. Together you will move in greater authority, greater impact, and greater testimony than either of you could accomplish alone. Think of a pair of oxmen yoked together in ancient fields alone. Each could plow a line of soil, but when joined, their strength doubled and their pace steadied. The field that once seemed endless became manageable because two worked as one. This is the essence of covenant partnership. It makes the impossible possible by combining strength, wisdom, and purpose under divine alignment. There was once a chosen one who longed not just for love, but for purpose and love. When her covenant partner entered her life, she discovered that their missions were intertwined. He carried a burden for healing. She carried a passion for teaching. Together, they created a space where both flowed in harmony, touching lives far beyond what either could have reached alone. Their marriage became not only a source of personal joy, but also a ministry that poured light into their community. Scripture says in the book of Joshua chapter 1 verse 9, "Have I not commanded you? Be brave and powerful. Don't be scared. Do not give up, because wherever you go, the Lord, your God, will be with you." This reality is the source of the bravery of covenant love. Fear is defeated when you walk in unison because you know that heaven is supporting your objective. Consider the wings of a bird. Flight cannot be carried by a single wing. They both have to move in time. The bird flies far above the ground when they do. Only you and your spouse are those wings. You can continue on your own, but if you band together, you will reach heights you never thought were possible. There will be difficulties with your agreement, but as we tackle obstacles together, they will become stepping stones. When one becomes tired, the other will support them. One will express trust when the other is doubtful. One will protect when the other is assaulted. Walking together has this power. You will never have to fight this struggle alone again. In a world full of false promises and fake love, your union will also serve as a prophetic testimony to others. As a testament to the persistence of real covenant, your relationship will shine brightly. People will be inspired to hope once again when they see how you pray, serve, and persevere together. Your love turns into a public beacon of God's faithfulness as well as a personal treasure. Imagine a lighthouse perched on a precipice. By themselves, they're dead and huge stones. However, when skillfully assembled, they create a tower that can shine a beam over the sea and survive storms. Together, you and your spouse are those stones that were purposefully linked to form a building that will lead many people to safety. Selected one. As a covenant partnership, your goal is to show your light, not to conceal it. Your love is not limited to the boundaries of your house, nor is it little or delicate. It is intended to spill over into other people's life, to uplift their faith, to free them from bonds, and to leave a lasting legacy. So now have your heart ready. There will be happiness in this relationship. Yes, but responsibilities will also come with it. It is a collaboration with heaven itself, a calling, an assignment. And when you enter it, you'll find that walking two lives together is much more powerful than standing alone. Unwavering evidence of God's love at work throughout the globe, one mission. And don't take this task lightly. Integrating your biography into the larger narrative of God's kingdom is what it means to walk as one. Every prayer you offer together strengthens your relationship and the lives of people around you, like a thread in a huge tapestry. The world may not always think highly of your joint purpose. Sometimes it's as easy as lending a helping hand, opening your house, or silently praying for someone else. However, even little deeds have a huge impact in paradise. Trembling environments and changing fates. Selected one. Keep this in mind. It's not simply about the benefits of covenant love, but about what you both contribute. Every act of togetherness is a sacrifice of praise, and it is a living altar. Through it, you become a live example of how God himself walks among people when two walk in unison, and how the counterfeit always attempts to show up first when heaven is about to unleash something valuable. False loaves emerge with all the attraction and promises, but without the burden of commitment. The adversary is aware that he cannot thwart God's plan. However, he makes an effort to divert, delay, and undermine your optimism. For this reason, at this season, judgment is crucial. Imagine a thirsty, desperate wanderer in the desert. On the horizon, one mirage after another emerges, glimmering like water, but disappearing as one gets close. Because they pursue illusions rather than pursuing the real oasis, many give up and collapse. Similar to this, fake relationships could seem glamorous at the time, but they can't satisfy your soul's need. Living water can only be carried by a covenant delivered from heaven. A selected one formerly joined partnerships because they were afraid of being alone all the time. Bright declarations of love and vows of eternity marked the beginning. But shortly after the mask came off, there was betrayal, emptiness, and lies. She pondered if she was flawed for years. However, this was the reality. There was nothing wrong with her. The fakes had just gotten there earlier than expected. The difference was evident when her genuine covenant partner arrived, even though the true promise was still being prepared. Love grew, peace was achieved, and goals were in line. Scripture issues a warning in John's first epistle, chapter 4, verse 1. Do not trust every spirit, my friends. Instead, examine the spirits to see whether they are from God. Alignment with heaven is the test, not outward looks or words. Although it might create excitement, counterfeit love cannot keep the peace. Your heart must be protected, chosen one, not solidified. Love doesn't demand tenderness, but it does require intelligence. Refrain from accepting every hand that extends toward you. Don't let any whispered promise make you lose your value. Wait for the person whose presence makes you feel at home, whose life reflects how you prepare yours, and whose love enhances rather than detracts from your objective. And allow me to use images to communicate with your soul as you navigate this time of discernment. Consider pressing as it is, as if you were placing a stone of remembering along the route, if this message speaks to you. Here is a marking that reads, I chose wisdom over illusion. In order to prevent another tired traveler from mistaking a mirage for the actual oasis, sharing M is like dragging a lamp into the darkness and raising it high. Your sharing becomes a safeguard for them. It's like tying your heart to a solid anchor on the coast. If you subscribe, you stay linked to the current of truth regardless of how the waves of fake surge. Never getting lost in my thoughts. Please leave a comment if this word seems to be speaking to you personally. It's similar to engraving your name into a live tree's bark. Storms may come and generations will go by, but the carving will always serve as a reminder that you maintained your ground, exercised discernment, and opted for covenant over counterfeit. Consider it like sowing a seed into rich soil if you are moved to give. Despite its modest size, the seed grows into a tree that protects others from false winds. Your generosity turns into a silent but effective gesture that creates a haven where many will discover